Queensland Reds. I don't want to, they're not back. I don't want to say they're back, but I definitely think that the Queensland Reds have made massive improvements from last year, and I really didn't expect it at all. I mean, look, they're 1-4, but you look at their losses, 3 of them have been by, 10, 13 points max. And their one big loss was a complete second half screw around in Argentina, which often happens to Australian teams. Not making an excuse, but really that game on Saturday night that they played against the Sharks that they lost 33-23, lost by 10 points. It was a really good performance. And I think it's starting to show that finally after 3 years, Brad Thorne has finally got what he wants out of this squad. And, it's impressive because it's still a very young team, and it is actually this year, it's one of the youngest teams in Super Rugby, and it's genuinely a young team. It's not just like, oh, look, the squad average is this, but then we still have old players. Like, there's not a lot of experienced players playing in this Queensland Red squad. I think the most experienced probably is James O'Connor. There's a couple of Teniela Tupou's got a couple of caps, but he's still like mid-20s. There's a lot of young boys in this team. And really, the most impressive thing for me is that they seem to care this year. They all genuinely seem to care. Like, they're putting in effort, and they're just hitting harder. They want to execute better. Their failures and letdowns seem to hurt more. And I don't know whether that's been a whole rugby thing, with the appointment of Dave Rennie and, Scott Johnson and stuff coming in and saying like, look, the slate's clean. Whoever's good enough is making the Wallabies this year. But obviously it's flowed down to the Reds. And I really think, Thorny's finally got his grips on the squad. He's got a young, impressionable squad that he's putting the right sort of, attitude into, and it's finally working. But I guess it's just the most impressive thing is that their pods don't seem to just be, let's run or let's get it to Samu Kerevi as quick as we can this year. Harry Wilson is a massive factor for the Reds this year. He's, carrying the ball through the line well. He's a young number 8. He's been playing for the Reds, come through the under-20 system. I think last year he might have played or the year before. But, he's amazing. Like, he's got ball handling. He's got footwork into contact. He's agile in contact. He can offload through contact. He's really impressed me so far this year. And just, he's really stepped up as a leader. Like, the back row of the Reds has really stepped up this year. Liam Wright, their captain, he's still pretty young. And then I can't remember who they're playing at number 6 right now, but, they're all really young and they're all really stepping up, carrying the ball hard, looking to offload into contact, offloading into, at, and through contact, which is impressive. And it's really paying off. But the problem is, and then obviously, Harry Wilson has been impressive. And then you look at the backs too. I think Hamish Stewart has really impressed me. He was really, this was going to be, if he had been playing number 10 this year, this was going to be his last year at the Reds. He just wasn't cut as a Super Rugby 10. But I think they've moved him to 12 and he's now a ball handling 12. He's, what used to happen with Hamish Stewart was that the game I think was going too quickly for him and he'd panic at 10 and always duck in. So he'd have weapons outside him like Kerevi, Pataya, Fairway Sortia, the same weapons that are still in place this year, bar Kerevi, of course. And he'd just panic and crash the ball and then the Reds would do nothing with their back line and then the forwards are constantly working, worn down by 60 minutes and then the Reds concede, 2 or 3 late. Which would put them behind in games. But Hamish has moved to 12, which means now he is honestly an option as a ball runner. If he chooses, he can just take it, and that's what he's been doing. And he's also been used out the back. He's got more space to think now too at 12. He's got, that extra 2 or 3 meters behind O'Connor, and he can just choose. He's got more space, more freedom, and it's definitely clicking. So Harry Wilson and Hamish Stewart have been the most impressive for the Reds this year. But I just think the thing that's letting them down is, I'm saying, youth is the best thing for their starting team, but it's their bench and the use of their bench, the lack of experience off the bench. And, just their number 9, their reserve number 9 that they've been running with recently, Scott Mahalo, I really think, just against the Sunwolves, he really slowed down the attack. And the Reds have been operating this year on a really fast pick and drive, let's get going. Let's hit a lot of fast crash balls and then run off the defense not being set properly. And, they're exploiting gaps. They've got really good ball runners in the forwards and their backs. James O'Connor, Hamish Stewart, Hunter Pasami. They're all choosing really good lines. And just with a staggered, broken defense, it's working really well. But the thing is, when their reserve number 9, Scott Mahalo, comes on, and slows right down the play. The defense is getting set and they're just eating up everything the Reds are doing because the Reds aren't doing anything majorly complex. And that's the problem is when it slows down and Tate McDermott goes off and they're, the defense is able to set and read and know what they're doing, then the Reds are just getting mauled. And that's probably the most disappointing part this year. And it cost them the game. I think, it was a factor of James O'Connor going off just after halftime or at halftime with an ankle injury. And hopefully that's not too bad. There hasn't been any news released on that yet, but, ankle sprain. James O'Connor going off and, the Reds losing their centre direction for 10 minutes. And then, Scott Mahalo coming on for the last 20. I hate to single out a player, but I really feel like the bench let the Reds down on the weekend. And, they conceded two converted tries late in the match, and then got one back right in the 87th minute. The game went 7 minutes over time, so it made the scoreboard look a bit better. But really, the Reds got beat when their bench come on, and that's definitely something they've got to change. Happened against the Sunwolves. They were completely running over the Sunwolves. The bench come on, and their run over the Sunwolves completely slowed down. And, they're going to face the Crusaders this week, which is going to be a massive challenge. And, if the Reds starters are fighting and sticking it to the Crusaders and then the bench comes on, I really feel like it's going to be a mauling, but I hope it's not. And look, yeah, that's it really. The Reds just their bench has to step up. Their starters are definitely a finals team right now, but their bench just has to step up and be able to carry through that platform.